Hey there YouTube, this is going to be my video response to Timey2Wimey's questions for Doctor Who fans. And you'll find Timey's channel floating around on here somewhere and over there in the sidebar. He's well worth checking out. Not only does he do videos on Doctor Who and various other sci-fi series, he's also a very good toy reviewer, and it's just generally really very funny. Right then, on to the questions. Number 1. How long have you been a fan of Doctor Who? Not for terribly long, actually. I was born in 1984, so when I was a kid, Doctor Who was really on its way out. I knew it existed. My mom was a big fan. She loved Doctor Who, but it never really caught my imagination until recently, until the newer series, when it was resurrected by Russell T Davies. That was when I really started to enjoy it. And what really caught my attention about it more than anything else was that then as now, British TV is suffering from a dearth of alternative material. All we seem to have at the moment are by-the-numbers teledramas and soaps just rehashing the same old cliched, hackneyed, conciliatory storylines over and over again, and reality shows. So it was something different, it was something alternative, and that's really what drew me to it more than anything else. So not terribly long, really. Number 2, how did you come across the series? Well, I knew of it already. I mean, as I said, my mum's a big fan of Doctor Who. She really liked the Tom Baker years more than anything. So I already knew of it, and I was subtly intrigued when I saw it advertised. So I just thought, oh, why not? I'll give it a go, and I was largely impressed. I mean, it doesn't always hit the mark. In fact, I'd say overall the new series has had more misses than hits, but when it hits really big. There's some absolutely fantastic writing and some wonderful direction and characterization in some of the episodes, and that's what keeps me watching more than anything. Number 4, who is your definitive companion? That's an interesting question because I really haven't had many. I've never been concerned about the companions. The only one who really drew my attention was Captain Jack, when he was the Doctor's companion for a very brief period of time, along with Rose in the first season. The companion, ironically, that really intrigues me is one that didn't happen. I mean, at the end of season 3, I believe it was, the episode with the Master, the Doctor suggested that the Master could have potentially become a companion-like character. When the Master was dying, he said something along the lines of, come with me, we can go and explore the stars and time and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. And I think that would have been a fantastic setup for the next season. I think they really missed a trick there, or copped out, I don't know which. It would have been great to have the Master as a sort of companion, and that could have been the dynamic of the 4th season. It could have been so interesting, because he would be a constant foil to the Doctor, and the Doctor would obviously have to keep an eye on him all the time. You wouldn't know what he was up to. I think that would have been fantastic, but of course they bottled it and just went for the standard, almost clean slate for season 4, so that's a shame. So my definitive companion is one that didn't happen. Who is your favourite villain or monster in the series? Now this is one of my favourite questions that you ask, because one of the things that really draws me to Doctor Who is the monsters and the aliens and the creatures. I find that the villains are always far more interesting, aren't they? I find this difficult to answer though, because there's so many I really like. I think I was very sceptical about the Daleks. I mean, my mum always went on about how scary they used to be, and of course when seeing the designs, like, well, how's that scary? It's a dustbin with a plunger and an egg whisk on it. But the first episode that featured a Dalek in the new seasons was fantastic. The Dalek sort of threw, metaphorically if you like, threw off the shackles of its retrograde qualities and actually came across as incredibly powerful and threatening. The fact that that episode's body count is so incredibly high. The single Dalek takes out hundreds of people. And that's what really endeared me to the Daleks. And since then we've had some very interesting variations on the Daleks as well. There was the Dalek Emperor, who was wonderful. There was the crappy human Dalek. That was a terrible idea, the human Dalek. It's just awful. That should never have happened. And then of course we had the Council of Skaro, who I really like, and Davros. Davros is a fantastic villain. What I like about Davros is not only the way he looks, I think he looks wonderful. The way his eyes are all burnt and sealed over, and the withered flesh and the single eye set in his forehead. He looks absolutely fantastic. But what I like about him more than anything is his motivation. He seems to be, like all of the very best Doctor Who villains, a completely ruined individual. He seems to operate from a point of nihilism. All life is worthless. All life is corrupt and degenerate and unworthy. Therefore I will create the perfect life forms that are worthy of existence. I rather like that in a villain. I also really liked the Beast from the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. I think they made a mistake in showing you the creature. I wasn't too fond of the fact that it was a big CG monster at the end. I didn't like that. But when it was just an unseen force, it was fantastic. And the horror in that episode is more sophisticated than the horror you'll find in any number of mainstream horror films at the cinema today. It was fantastic. I'm particularly drawn to a scene in which the Beast had possessed one of the human beings who was on the Impossible Planet. I can't quite remember who he was. He was an archaeologist, I believe, or something. And one of the other crew members notices him outside of the habitat, and there's no atmosphere on this planet, so technically he should be dead. And he has all of this bizarre, arcane, occult writing tattooed all over his face, and he just turns to her and gestures as if to say, "Come out." It's absolutely wonderful. The sense of tension is brilliant, and the direction of that episode, it's certainly one of the triumphs of the new Doctor Who, without a doubt. Oh, which leads me on quite nicely to question 6. What has been the serious triumph in your opinion? As I mentioned earlier, I think one of the things that's most laudable about Doctor Who in general is that it's brought the strange and the surreal and the slightly abstruse back into the living room. It's provided an alternative to the placations and the banality of soaps and dramas and reality TV shows. It's actually, and the fact that it's frightening as well, the fact that it's aimed at a family audience, so children, grown-ups, people from all ages, but it's frightening, and genuinely frightening at times. I think that's wonderful. It doesn't always work, it has hits and misses, as is inevitable because of the fact that each episode is written by a different writer and often has different directors and whatnot working on it as well. But it is worthwhile, even those episodes that don't always hit the mark are worthwhile, simply for providing alternative material, something that is surreal and strange and slightly disturbing and unsettling. And this is married to the often quite complicated moral explorations and philosophical explorations that you get within the show. I really like the fact, for example, that the Doctor is not always the good guy. I think that's wonderful, particularly in the David Tennant episodes, it seems. There is always this constant questioning of the Doctor, as if he could quite easily be a force for the most terrible evil. And it's something we saw expressed at the end of season 4. I mean, Davros himself says it. He says something along the lines of the eternal pacifist, the man who never carries a gun, but who makes other beings his weapons. And that really does expose the hypocrisy that's at the heart of the Doctor. It is quite a profound hypocrisy. Yes, he rails against people who have guns and people who use violence, but he manipulates other beings into being his weapons, into acting in his place when need be. And it's something that's not shied away from. It's something that's actually referenced and explored within the episodes, and I think that's great. I think they could take it further, definitely, and I would like to see it taken further. But even so, yeah, I think that's why the series is laudable. But most of all, it's the horror and the strangeness. It's the fact that it's exposing, for once, it's exposing the British public. Something mainstream is exposing the British public to something strange. Something that might upset their sense of complacency a bit.